I'm Morgan. I am a mechanical graduate. So at the moment, I'm working in Port Hedland in the reliability team for fixed plant, which is everything post in Port Hedland, post the trains coming in from the mines, pre it going out onto the ship.
My name is Juliana. I currently work at Caval Ridge Mine and I am a graduate in the mine planning team.
My name is Olivia. I work at BHP in the Perth office and my title is Graduate of Major Projects.
My first name is Harry. I'm currently at Caval Ridge Mine and my position is Graduate Process Engineer.
I'm Danny. I work at Olympic Dam. I am a graduate mechanical engineer. I finished my first year.
My name is Matt. I'm a graduate chemist at Olympic Dam for BHP. I did a Bachelor of Science, double majoring in applied physics in chemistry. The reason I decided to study that is because I originally started with mechanical engineering and thought it was a bit too specific. I wanted to do something, I just wanted to pick what I liked. I liked science, I liked math. And then with your science degree, you're kind of open to a lot of different things. Like I never thought I'd be in mining, having done a physics and chemistry course. And because it's brought me here, it sort of showed you could take that wherever you want. So that's why I sort of picked that one.
I Googled highest starting median salaries, and right at the top of the list was software engineering, petrochemical engineering, and I didn't like programming, so I went with the second one.
I started mechanical engineering at UWA. So I did the engineering science undergrad and then the mechanical masters. So the 5-year degree, I kind of tripped and fell and took the path of least resistance. So didn't quite think I was going to end up here, but I'm enjoying it so far. I wanted to do environmental engineering, but went to a few career fairs and stuff, and everyone that was an environmental engineer was working in mining, and I was like, I don't want to work in mining, so I'm going to do mechanical because it's more broad. But I still ended up here and I'm not mad about it.
I studied a bachelor's of mechanical and sustainable energy engineering. So basically a mechanical engineering degree with a few of my electives chosen for me, which gave me a sustainable energy title on the end.
I studied a commerce degree at university and I majored in marketing and management. Pretty silly reason for doing that. I honestly just couldn't think of a specialization that I was interested in enough to pursue at uni. So I thought, what is a really good grounding degree that is a lot of basic general knowledge? It's going to be useful in a lot of different sectors, a lot of different industries, and hopefully I can use that degree to go into something that I haven't even heard of yet.
I studied at QUT and I studied civil engineering with minors in construction and project management, actually. So I've taken a bit of a different path. But in high school, I loved maths and maths related subjects and sort of a problem solving aspect of it.
When the BHP ones opened around that time, I kind of had been a bit lax still. I was kind of getting into the drafting space. It was a whole new world for me anyway. I was getting into it. And then one of my friends says, oh, Danny, have you applied like for a BHP grad job? And I'm like, oh, no, I haven't. They said, oh, well, you should think about it. So I thought, okay, cool. So I wrote up my resume. Truth be told, it was the first company I actually applied for. And I'd had a lot of anxiety about just rewriting my CV and actually applying for companies. It was almost like imaginary roadblock that I had in my mind where I was like, I just can't apply for anything. So I didn't apply for anything. And then I applied for that and I was like, oh, that wasn't nearly as hard as I'd made it up in my mind. And then that gave me a bit of momentum to apply for other places. But when I applied, you had the little, there's a few little games they wanted you to play to kind of understand like where you're at.
When I reached my final year of university, as a lot of university students will know, you get to that point where you do need to start applying for graduate programs. So I had the classic spreadsheet set up and I was doing a lot of research on a lot of different graduate websites and research websites and graduate forums, trying to understand what made a top quality graduate program and what kind of industries I felt were aligned with my values. Because when I was searching for my graduate role, I was hoping to find an industry that I could grow in, that I could feel fulfilled in, that I could be happy in. And resources really stood out to me, particularly living in Western Australia. So I thought, okay, within resources, what companies really support their graduates, offer them lots of opportunities for learning and leadership development, and BHP was one of the top ones. I did apply to, obviously didn't apply to just BHP, I did apply to lots of different companies, but a couple of them, once I got to the video interview stage at BHP, I was like, oh, I'm not going to bother with that anymore. I just am really excited for BHP. I think a lot of young people will agree with me when I say that sustainability is really important, and attention to climate change, future-focused industry that's looking to adapt and diversify its assets and the commodities that it pursues. So I was really interested in that from a technical perspective. But then when I was looking at graduate programs, I've heard horror stories of, churn and burn with graduates and then being forced to work very long hours, doing very tedious work. And it's all in the hope that one day, the mythical one day, 10 years or 15 years, it all pay off and they'll have a great cushy job. And I thought, but I don't want that in 15 years. I want to be working hard, but towards something positive now. And what I really liked about BHP was it seemed there was a very high level of pastoral care. They wanted to invest in their young people, and they saw their graduate program as a way for them to properly invest in their workforce. So there wasn't that churn and burn attitude. It was about how can we build up and support our grads.
Well, I applied for the internship. I knew some people that worked for BHP. They told me nothing but good things. So I thought, give it a crack, see what it's like for a few months. Probably not going to like it. And then I'll at least have had 3 months of work experience, and then I can leave, bit of pocket money, go somewhere else. But I did the internship. I loved it so much that I then applied for a technician job at Olympic Dam, worked there for nearly a year. And then during that time, I applied for the grad program and just stayed here, been here ever since. What surprised me about it was how much I loved it. I think it was, I say this without lying, it was probably one of the best 3 months I've ever spent anywhere.
I was very uncertain in myself and my capabilities. And in the interviews, it was very, sometimes I would go in feeling very scripted, like I'd have some sort of speech and it definitely sounded like a speech and didn't come across as very natural. But I got better over time, and doing this interview right now, it's so much easier because I've had that practice. You'll get better at it by practicing. So apply now, apply to lots of things, and practice the art of writing a cover letter, explaining why you're passionate about working for that company, what your skills and accomplishments are. And then you can reflect on that as well. Think about, I wasn't able to write very much in my cover letter. What accomplishment can I achieve this year to add to it for next year, right? And for me, some of the things I did, like I went and got a forklift license because it demonstrated that I could do risk assessments in the workplace, that I understood, dangerous workplaces, that I was eager to learn and was willing to invest in my own learning.
I had a lot of notes that I had taken prior to doing the interview. So at the time, I actually didn't have any work experience. So I kind of went through what I had done at university, projects, group projects specifically, wrote down key takeaways from those, learnings from those, and how I would be able to apply that in a workplace. And I definitely did a little research into BHP, what they stand for, what they do. Would highly recommend doing that in preparation. And also, I feel like during the interview process, just being really enthusiastic. I find it never hurts to be really enthusiastic and eager. I've had a lot of feedback that people who do these interviews love it when people are very enthusiastic.
Some people sort of go into interviews a little bit nervous and uptight, I've found. And they're like, I just need to show them every single thing that I've ever done, all these projects, all this stuff that I've worked on, how much stuff I know, and prove to them that I'm smart enough to be there. When really my experience has been treated a bit more casually. Yes, take it seriously because that's a job interview, but you're not just looking for, is this person qualified? Because they know that. They've already read your resume. They've seen your academic transcript. What they want to know, I think, is, are they going to be able to cope? I'll speak from a mining side. Are they going to be able to cope up on site? And to be able to cope up here, you have to be able to work with a lot of different people. So I see having good social skills, or at least being open to discussing with lots of different groups of people, to be a big plus. But also, more selfishly, they're thinking about, I have to work with this person. So if they come across friendly and open, they might be more inclined to want to hire you. So that would be my advice: is just take it a bit casual and try and not be too technical and serious. Just be friendly, social.
We are just kept so busy. The last year has been an absolute flurry for me. It has been the busiest year of my life, but in the best way possible. So as a major projects graduate, I actually don't rotate like other disciplines do. I stay on my project. My project is about 3 years into its cycle, and there's definitely at least another 5 to go. So I've stayed within my project, but there is lots of different streams for work within the project. So I've been moving around to different people and supporting different people with different tasks. So things like audit and assurance, contract management. Some graduates may have heard of an ESP, which is an engineering service provider. So the project that I'm working on has an ESP, and I do a lot of work managing them. We're working towards completing deliverables within the project timeline for BHP. So there are documents due, there are processes and meetings and workshops that need to happen, and I support and help run those, which I find really interesting, amazing. And I'm exposed to so many different stakeholders, so many different technical experts who are outside of my immediate project sphere, but on that kind of peripheral. I get to meet all of those people, which is so interesting.
Like running equipment, and you're looking at potential failures, any downtime that happens. You go into the field, you're looking at, okay, this thing broke overnight and we had to do this fix. Why did it break? What happened? Do you perform like an analysis, a root cause? What happened? And then you plan for the future to minimize that downtime. Because when you're in an area which is like a 24/7 operation.
Obviously, coming from a civil background, I did not have a lot of mining experience when I first started, but everyone is aware of that. No one is expecting you to know everything, and everyone was so patient with me when I was attempting to learn everything from scratch. And people in these teams get a lot of graduates, so they know, they've trained a lot of people and they know how is best to show you. And you do get a lot of support, but you are expected to figure things out on your own. And me personally, I find that I learn a lot better if I am given some guidance and then go off to try and figure it out myself. I was definitely feeling really nervous before I started, but I can confirm whatever I did at university, any assignment, any exam that I did at university is way harder than what I do in my day-to-day job. I think if you have managed to get this far through an engineering degree, you will be 100% okay. And it is hard at the start with imposter syndrome, but you just have to remember that you are learning and that's okay, and people are aware that you're learning. And a lot of people have actually been graduates themselves before, so they know what it's like. So as part of my development, I specifically requested to join the blast crew just so I could get some insight on, I'm giving the crew a plan, how do they actually execute the plan? So I got to spend 6 weeks with the blast crew, and it was so much fun. It was very hot out in the blazing hot sun, but it just meant that I was able to establish a friendly relationship with the crew, and they were so eager to talk about any issues, talk about things they enjoyed, and they were also really eager to teach me what they did. So by the end of my 6 weeks, I was loading explosives into blast holes. I was doing everything with them, and I'm actually really friendly with all of them. I went to one of the guys' 60th birthday the other day. So even though I am no longer at that site I still have a lot of contact with them.
Grad-wise, they do hold your hand, but they do also give you actual jobs to do and help in on, or they give you the chance to go out with the teams to learn more, especially when you're FIFO up on site. So lots of my mates have spent time in teams out with the shift workers that are doing the actual work, as I say, out sweating and doing all the hard yards. Or you have the opportunity. My role at the moment, I've been exposed to lots of opportunities with meetings with different vendors and different people higher up in BHP to make. I'm not making the very cool decisions, but I'm being a part of the discussion, which is very, very cool, and cool to see like where we're headed and where we've been.
I think my highlight for the program is how committed to my development my team have been, because they're not a part of the graduate program, but my team, from the first few weeks, were giving me actual responsibilities. They're making me accountable for things. They're putting me in charge of things and saying, this is your swim lane. These are your responsibilities and no one else's responsibilities. You need to go and just do it. And there's very little oversight from my manager. I'm just expected to go and do things. And that blew me away. There was no hand holding. There was no, oh, can you just photocopy this from me? In fact, my manager expressly forbade that. And he said, Olivia, if anybody ever tries to make you do their silly admin work, you come to me, because you are here to learn, to grow, and you are a team member.
Being involved in the graduate program, I think, has been a bit of a highlight. When I first started, I was a bit pessimistic. I thought, I don't need to worry about any of this stuff. I've got a job now. I'm going to be a chemist. I'm going to work in the labs. All I care about is learning more lab stuff and being better at that job. But I've since become involved in the graduate committee as the technical development officer, or one of two. So being able to meet the other grads, work with them, develop some of the soft skills has been quite good, stuff that I didn't really care about at uni, or that I pretended to care about just to pass. And yeah, just, I don't know, meeting all the other people. I've never met so many people in my life, and it's really good to be able to work with them, learn things from them, and then also just hang out with them.
Highlights so far in the culture side of things. When I was at Newman, the grads organised a trip to Karajini. So the pros of only flying home for the weekend is that you can sometimes often not fly home for the weekend and pick to drive in, drive out. So we hired a minibus from the airport and just caught our normal bus on Friday afternoon to the airport, but then drove it was Friday morning, sorry, to the airport, and then drove to Karajini. We stayed in Tom Price and we did all the gorges and stuff, which was awesome experience and culture and bonding between the grads. It wasn't just the Newman grads too. We got Jimble Bar because they're like half an hour away, and some people from Mac too because it's on the way to Karajini. So that's awesome. And we're looking to do that to Broome now that I'm in Port Hedland. So everyone's just always keen to catch up and hang out. So in the culture side, that's definitely a highlight. In terms of the work side, I'd say the graduate technical forums, which is also very unique to BHP. I haven't heard any other business that's keen to take the grads that they're paying out of their jobs for a whole week and give them development. So we do 3 days discipline specific. So there's 2 GTFs per year, which is Graduate Technical Forum, and you do 3 discipline specific days and then 2 common days. So with everyone in the cohort, and the discipline days could be like a bearings course or a hydraulics course or a fluids and lubrication course or things like that. And then the common days are like the CFO coming down and chatting to us about her experience. So Vandita did that for us last time, and she's now in a new role, but it was awesome to hear her story and hear how like excited those people so way higher up in the business are to chat to grads and like leave a footprint kind of thing for us to follow and aspire to. So they're also definitely the highlights.
Now that I've had exposure in reliability, I find that fascinating, really interesting stuff. It sounds silly to think, developing maintenance plans and performing maintenance sounds really cool, but when you get to see the big equipment like working and then subsequently kind of failing and you've got to do something about it, that's really cool. Like you get to do that problem solving, figuring out what the issue is, and then you can work out, oh, I've saved this many hours of downtime by doing this fix, and then you can think in your head, I've saved this much money for the company. How cool is that? And that actually provides you a lot of worth.
We also hosted like graduate get-together sort of parties, which were pretty There's sort of a cultural staple of the graduate cohort. The first one is always the box party, and it's always hosted in Dysart because when we all moved out here, we all had like boxes of stuff being moved by the moving company. We take a box each, we paint it up, put something like some sort of costume we want, and then we wear those and have a big costume party with them. And then we chuck them all on a bonfire to celebrate the start of the program.
In terms of the graduate program, I can't speak highly enough to the culture. It has to be the most positive culture of young people that you could ever come across. It's very collegial, but in a really friendly, fun way. Everybody just gets along. I don't know how else to say it. I have a really close group of friends, and it's very common for people to have close friends within the graduate program. We're actually going to Bali together in a couple of months, and we're not the only ones. I have a friend who, with her grad friends from the year above me, they're all in Japan at the moment. So people build really strong relationships. And I guess all I can say to that is if you put yourself out there, you will be a part of the program and you'll form, a core part of the experience for other people as well, which is just so fulfilling. And I don't know, it really warms me.
As for my fellow grads, I met them my first week in February. Lovely, lovely group of people. I'm pretty lucky and privileged that I get on very well with all of them. You have an interaction with them implicitly where once you finish work, you'll be in the mess hall having dinner, and they just naturally become your social circle. So you chat with them all the time. And then they become good pals. I catch up with a few of them outside of work pretty frequently, get on really well with them. Aside from that, there's committees that you can get onto. For example, I'm on a graduate committee where I've got 5 other graduates that I work with and help develop events. So I have a good interaction with them there. We also have, as part of our program, a business case challenge that we have to do in our second year. Team of 6 grads. You have a different team, and you get to interact with them all the time. It's really cool to have that social circle with them because you can hear about other teams and what other teams are doing. I, as a mechanical graduate, won't necessarily go into a strict metallurgical kind of production role, but it's interesting, and I get to chat to the metallurgists about what they're doing. I get to chat to the electrical engineers about what they're doing. I get to chat with the mining engineers who are undergrad all the time, the crew time they get to do. It's really interesting. You get to hear everybody's experience. So they're lovely, and I get on very well with them, which I feel pretty lucky for.
So I try to keep a bit of tabs on that in terms of my calendar, making sure I maybe do take an extra day here or there around that 12-week mark to make sure I'm not catching myself before I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm ready to quit. Because that's not necessarily the case. You might just need a longer sleep in the next day. Sleep is a big thing. Still haven't quite worked it out. I'm a year in. I'm not sure if I said that earlier. So I struggle a lot with like falling asleep at a reasonable time. So therefore I leave it quite late to wake up in the mornings in FIFO. By late, I mean 5 o'clock instead of other people waking up at the 4:30 mark. But that just means I have more time in the afternoon to do the things. So I pack dinner the night before. I pack lunch, the night before and stuff to make my morning routine really quick and just roll out of bed and get to site. And then you've got that bit of time to still wake up. And then that bit of extra time at night time to do the things that I want to do. So yeah, still a little bit of a shock to the system, but they do definitely look after you and make sure that you are doing okay with it. So if you do need an extra day's rest or to do a day in Perth here and there, they're understanding of that.
You have to get to bed early is ultimately the thing. I would suggest don't have your phone by your bed, not because of looking at it at night before, but because of waking up. It can be pretty easy for your alarm to go off and just go, no, I need another half hour, I need another hour because it's so early. So I'd leave the phone on the other side of the room, so you have to physically get up and turn it off is a terrible hack that I've developed.
Yeah, I was pretty nervous, and then getting to the airport. I'm not a massive flyer. I've never really travelled too far away from home. So having to come up here, stay 3 months, and if it's the grad program, a couple of years, or if it's just for a week at a time, I was pretty nervous. But everyone up here is in the same boat. They either live up here in the middle of the desert, or they're up here on a FIFO roster bit, couple of days, a week, 2 weeks, whatever it is. So they all know what you're going through, and they've probably been through the same thing. So you're not coming up here and you're just by yourself. You're coming up here to be with a whole bunch of other people who are kind of by themselves. So then you're together. But yeah, I was pretty nervous before I started, I think. Now I'm way better.
Prior to going on this internship, I had lived at home until then. So it was definitely quite a big adjustment. But there was a fair few other interns also doing the program, also located in Moranbah. So you're not completely by yourself. And we did a few weekend trips, which was something to look forward to. And the days were actually a little bit shorter. They were only 10 and a half. So that wasn't too big of an adjustment. It was really difficult at first. I felt a little bit displaced. And it does take some getting used to, but finding sort of comforts or things that make your life and traveling easier, I actually really enjoy it now. When you go to work, you can be really focused on your work, and then when you come home, it's almost like a holiday, like you're getting on a plane and going home. So it makes that work-life balance really easy for me. But yeah, finding little comfort things like having doubles of your toiletries makes things a lot easier, so you don't have to worry about packing and unpacking and things like that.
Other than that, I'd say something that I didn't expect was to enjoy FIFO as much as I have. It's really, I actually have a better structure and routine when I'm up on site than I do when I'm down in Perth. It's been great for setting up more of a routine and a schedule in a way, because you have less time to be doing things. You also therefore have less time to waste and rot on your bed watching TikTok. So I have way better like discipline to go to the gym, because I know it's going to help me go to sleep and sleep well and help my mental health and stuff. And then when I'm in Perth, I'm like, oh, but I'm only in Perth for 2 days, so I don't need to go for a run. But like, obviously, it will still help me here.
Obviously, starting my internship as a young girl, I was only 20 years old, and I was very nervous to be working with people a fair bit older than me, more experienced, and also there is generally a lot more men on site than women, and I was really nervous for that and how I would cope with that. But I honestly don't even think of that anymore. Everyone is so welcoming. I think mining sometimes has a stigma around it, but I have always had great experiences. Everyone is always happy to chat, to get to know you, to take you out for a drive. I honestly have really enjoyed my time.
I have no idea what I want to be when I grow up, and I think I'll probably be saying the same thing when I'm 45. But what I have realized since starting is the world is my oyster. And even at 25, there were so many roles that I could not conceptualize, that I couldn't understand. They were so far out of my realm of knowledge and understanding. So when you're at university, you know roles like analyst, you know consultant, you know strategy and marketing. That is just this tiny, tiny part of what organizations like BHP have on offer. There are so many different roles available for slightly different skill sets, slightly different personalities, slightly different interests. There is just nothing that wouldn't suit someone at BHP. There is a team out there. There is some kind of specialty out there which would just be absolutely perfect for a specific person. And that's what I love about BHP, all the opportunities.
I do think a little bit about what's the meaning of my life. And I think probably a good meaning to aspire to is make the quality of life of long-term future generations as good as possible. So to do that, I'd like to work on some of the world's most pressing problems, like the risk of climate change being an issue that like makes a lot of lives worse in the future, maybe by making agriculture fail in a lot of developing nations. Critical minerals for manufacturing that are going to enable construction and manufacturing of all sorts of things across the world. And I'm also building a lot of career capital in the form of skills, in savings, in my bank account, and relationships that I can, like both friends and colleagues, that I'll be able to help out and also draw help from in the future when I'm a more experienced professional. My advice to my past self, or to people who are also studying engineering and doing internships, keep doing that, keep building skills, and keep up your passion for learning new things, because all knowledge is valuable. All those skills are going to be valuable in the future, and that's what I found out when I started working.
I think people have the negative perception of mining, and maybe BHP as well, because it's such a big figure in mining, that it's super industrial and it's super like people in PPE covered in crap, out there getting dirty, doing hard manual labor all the time. There's a job here for literally every discipline that I could think of. So if you're scared off of mining or BHP or whatever it is for that particular reason, I would say don't be. There are people here that work in offices doing data entry all the time. There's people out there that are fixing trucks. People are, I don't know, driving big trucks in the quarry. People are blowing up stopes underground. People are pulling out copper from the smelter. There are people analysing samples in the labs or writing up reports in the offices. People doing finance work in the Adelaide office. There's literally everything, and it's not just heavy, big, burly miner men getting dirty.